Hello and welcome to Clay Creators. Today we are working on one of our quick builds, so a little bit of a quicker build, but that gives you an option. With our quick build you get to choose the colours on certain parts. So with Toad here, you will be able to choose basically the colour of the dots on the top and his waistcoat, a few options there. I'll guide you through, I'll teach you and measure to show you what measurements you need, and like I say, when it gets to the stages of the waistcoat and the dots, you can pick and choose the colours you want, okay? So key stage 2 today, we will need our scales, we'll need our creator cards and tools, our pots of clay, and an airtight container if possible. Anything with a lid or a seal, lunchbox, Tupperware, things like that to help keep the clay fresh as we're working our way through the build. Okay, so what we're going to start off with, we're going to start by mixing the brown and the flesh colour, okay, and we'll keep that out the way ready for later on. Alright, so we'll start with the brown. We need our scales on, we need to make sure they're at 0 and on the right measurement, so on grams, okay. Our yellow clay will be measured out at 0.60, so 0.60. We don't need a lot of brown, so it's only going to be a smaller measurement to start off with. Okay. Blue is only going to be small, it's going to be 0.10. Remember, when you're not using your clay, lids on, keep your clay nice and fresh. And finally, we're going to add red to this, and the red is going to be 0.15. 0.15 of red. Fantastic. Okay, give them a mix, get them together, and we should get our brown for his feet. Okay. So we should have a nice brown. Okay, so we're going to split this for the feet now, okay? And we'll leave them there in the airtight container until later on, but we're going to shape them and get them in the right size now. Okay, so the feet should be at 0.35, so 2 0.35s. If you're slightly up or down, it's not a problem, so 0.34, and like I say again, as long as both of them are the same. We'll have a little spare brown clay as well. So a little bit spare clay. All we're going to do, if you can get rid of any lines and lumps, we'll get to the starting position. Starting position should always be a nice, smooth, round ball. I'll use my hands. If you want to use the table or your workstation to get that effect, it's what works best for you. So I've got two nice, smooth, round balls. All I'm going to do for the feet, give them a gentle roll. Just start turning them into a little sausage, not too much, nice and even. Don't need to make them too long. And then all I'm going to do is gently press down to flatten the top and the bottom slightly. Okay, so we're kind of getting that sort of shape. Okay, I'm going to place them into the airtight container along with my spare clay and just make sure they're not touching one another. Keep them flat as if they are standing. And we're now going to mix the flesh, so his skin colour, so for his face, his arms and his hands, okay? So again, make sure your scales are on. We'll start with our white clay. This time we're going to need 2.50, so 2.50 of white. Okay. We need our yellow next, and it is 020. Okay, and then finally we're just going to add some red. Now Toad's not too pinky, okay, he's got a very light complexion or skin, so all we're going to do is add a pinch. Now when I say a pinch, it all depends on the size of your fingers, right? So when I take a pinch, it's going to be around about that 0.5, very small amount, okay? The idea is that we add a tiny bit and you get the right colour. If you don't quite get it, you can add a little bit more, but you don't want to add too much red to start off with. So a tiny little pinch around about that 0.5 should be about right to start off with. Mix these all together and we should get a good colour for his skin. So we should have a nice skin flesh colour. Okay, back into the airtight container with this. Again, try not to let it touch any of the other parts. And now we're going to work up the body, okay? So nice and simple, we're going to start off by doing body first, the lower part of the body, then onto the flesh part. We'll wrap the waistcoat round and then we'll get onto the arms before moving on to the head, okay? So the bottom part is again white, and this time we're measuring out at 1.60. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to do one kind of movement to shape this, and we're going to kind of do that a couple of times throughout the build. Okay, so back to that starting position, get rid of those lines, lumps, smooth it out into a nice round ball. Once you've got that, place it onto your workstation or your work surface. Now all we're going to do is gently spin or turn it round, okay? So you're kind of pressing with your fingers around the outside, and you gently pressing down as well. So as it's spinning, it's giving it a flatter bottom. The workstation that you're working on is giving it a flatter bottom, okay? So I'm going to just press that a little bit, spin it round, press the top as well, just to bring that down again. And basically, at the moment, the feet would be on this top. So if I turn it over now, that's the way it's going to sit when we add the feet, okay? So you should have a nice flat part where his tummy is going to be. These are basically his trousers. Okay, so if I turn that over, I'm going to leave it flat side down for the time being and put it into the airtight container. Swap it over and bring the flesh colour back out. So keeping it the way that we've been working, keep it flat in there as well. Okay, scales on again. This time we're going to be measuring out at 0.90. So 0.90 for the top part. Okay, rest your clay away again. Okay. Back to that starting position, nice and smooth again. And we're going to do the same sort of effect as we did with the white, the bottom part where his trousers are. So again, gently pressing and spinning. Now with this being less clay, you're not going to get the same size, but the two flat parts are going to basically be sat on top of one another when we get them right, okay? So with this being smaller, it's not a problem, because as long as the front of him is nice and in line, when we put the waistcoat on, it kind of levels everything out, which will become clear as we get there. So I've just done the same again. We've now got a flatter bottom, nice, smooth, okay? So don't worry about pressing on the top too much on this one, okay? We're going to put these together now. So if you get the white trousers back, so we've got 2 flat parts. All I'm going to do is turn that over. Like I say, if you pick a front, that's the important part. So the front I've got facing you. I'm going to make sure that this part, the front part of this bit, is dead in line, but nice and even. Like I say, the rest of it will be made up as we add the waistcoat on. So the bit closest to you is in line. If I turned it this way, you should be able to see a white rim around the outside there. But again, the waistcoat's going to be wrapped around, so it's not going to make an issue. Okay, so we'll just put them together. Place that back into the airtight container now. Again, standing upright, and it's time for the waistcoat. I'm going to do the original kind of blue colour. It's up to you. This is one of those points where you can change colour if you want. Like I say, I'm going to stick with the original for the time being. So I'm going to get my blue, and waistcoat is going to be at 0.55. Okay, so if you're doing a different colour or you're doing a mix, you need to work out the right measurement if you're going to be changing the colour at all. So if you're doing a green, you'll need more yellow than you do blue, but in total, you want roughly 0.55 for the waistcoat. So, dead on. Now this is a little bit of shaping with your tool, with your hands, okay? Again, as always, though, back to that smooth ball starting position, okay? Now all we're going to do is going to roll this out. We're going to make it nice and flat, but at the ends, we're going to kind of point the ends, so as it comes around the body, you kind of get the effect of the waistcoat, okay? So I'm going to roll this out. I'm going to roll it to roughly around about 4 centimeters, but again, that's going to change. So use your ruler to get roughly the 4 centimeter. But like I say, that will change as we work on this. So all I'm going to do now is flatten, so gently press down. And again, it's already changed size, okay? So I'm flattened, so we've now got a nice flat, and now it's kind of usually tool to shape, okay? So you want to stretch it out. Originally, I'm going to flatten the edges and make them square and straight as well. Good thing is if you don't quite get this right, you can start again. Okay. So I'm just using my tool to kind of straighten edges out whilst using my other hand to press the clay to the position. So again, now if I look at it, I'm a little bit more than 0.4, sorry, the 4 centimeter. So it should be fine. Okay. Now the waistcoat needs to kind of just go a little bit onto the white, but again, nice and close up around the top of the body. So if we can get the body out now. Like I say, that bit at the front, that should be nice and flat and close to each other. We're going to wrap around from the back. So that bit nice and smooth and flat is there. I'm going to take my waistcoat. Now I've got my pointy ends. So if you can see, the 2 pointy ends, that is going to be around the bottom. Okay, so I'm wrapping nice and even, just touching the white slightly, bringing it around the top. So we should have that sort of effect now. Okay, nice and close to the top. Like I said, the head's going to go up there anyway. We are going to add his arms now. So just whilst we do that, I'm going to again put that back into the airtight container, swap it over and bring the flesh colour out again. We'll add the feet shortly as well. So the arms, and hands, again quite small. Okay, so we're going to use the 0.55 measurement on your creator card. This time it doesn't have to be the exact measurement. So what we're aiming for, so if I say a big 0.5, we're going to use that 0.5 measurement and put it on. And this time, if it's a little bit bigger than that 0.5, you can't quite see that circle. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so again, as long as you've got the 2 measurements pretty much the same, you'll get the right effect for his hand, for his arms. Sorry. So So I'm slightly bigger. And all we're going to do with this is give it a gentle roll out. We're looking for around about 1.5 centimeters on your ruler this time. So just gently give it a little roll. You're going to end up with very small little sausages, which is fine, which is exactly what we want for his arms. So looking for 1.5 centimeters. For his hands, that's a simple 2 tiny little pinches. Roll it into a ball. Again, try and make sure they're pretty much the same size. Roll them into a ball. And then we're going to just gently push them up against the arms. I'm going to put the rest of my fresh clay into the container. Bring the body out now. So the arms, just gently put them together. And then at the other end, obviously the shoulder just to the side of the waistcoat. Give it a gentle press. Now, it's up to you whether you want his arms down by his side, or whether you want them kind of raised or anything. I'm going to just again go for a nice simple beside his body down. Okay, so just give him a little gentle press against the top. So now little arms on. Okay, we'll add his feet now. And then we can leave that to kind of dry together. Now, whilst his feet are drying and whilst he's kind of getting balanced as he's drying, you may again need to lean him against something so he can stand upright. So I've got my 2 feet. They've been, in there. So what we're going to do now, instead of them being completely straight, I'm going to turn them slightly. And I'm going to place them on at the bottom. Do it this way for the time being. Leave a little gap in between. So you might be able to get, he may be a little bit unbalanced if you get it in the right place. So at the moment, so that's the sort of shape you're looking at the bottom. Okay, so just whilst we work on the head, I'm going to lean him against the wall of my airtight container. Just train him, start him used to standing upright. Okay, and then I'm going to take the flesh colour. We're just going to do the head. Head is nice and simple. There's not a lot to his face. It's a smile and a couple little black eyes, which is nice and easy. So we'll measure out the head, scales on, and the head is going to be measured out at 1.30. So we should have a little bit of spare clay left over. So again, touch of fresh clay there to use free play at the end. Get rid of those lines, give it a nice roll out again, back to that smooth starting position, roll it into a ball. So you should now have a little bit of fresh spare brown clay and flesh colour. Again, your choice what you wish to use them for later on. So back to the head, get rid of all those lines and those lumps. And again, we're going to use that same method as we did before, where we are just gently pressing down, giving it a flatter side. So I'm just going to press. This time, try not to press down too much on the top. So if you're just working around the sides, you still want a nice dome at the top here, or it will be the bottom as we add it on. So right now, if I bring it to you, it's got that nice shape there. Okay, so technically, when we add them all together, we're going to turn it around and it will be like this, and the big hat will be on the top. So I'm just going to put a smile in now. So I'm going to turn it over. The pointy bit is the bottom, and I'm just going to give him a little smile. Toad's a very happy little guy. Just while we work on the hat, I'm going to leave, once I've got that in, and I'm happy with that because I've messed that up a little bit. So we want to leave it on the flat part like this. So I'm going to put it back into the airtight container, basically upside down. So we'll let it start shaping and moulding itself that way. I say now we're going to move on to the top part. This is the bigger part of the build. Okay, so the hat's quite a bit of white clay, and we're going to measure this out at 5 5.30. Okay, so 5.30 of white. So a good chunk of clay. And again, back to that starting position, that nice smooth round ball. So give it a quick stretch, roll and get rid of those lumps, lines. Again, finally, we're going to use that same method. Now with the head, it changes shape as it dries, okay? So originally it will be a little bit flat across the top, but as it dries, it loops again and gets back to the shape that we kind of want. So we are going to gently press down, just slightly, and again give it that rotation press underneath. Okay, so it's going to give it a nice flat bottom. Press on the top again and just rotate. Okay, so don't worry about it being a little bit flat on the top, as long as you get the nice circle and the flat, the flatter bottom. Now that flatter bottom is where the head is going to kind of sit in. So if at all possible, once you've got pressed it down a little bit, we are looking, if you can get your finger or thumb inside to just kind of dent it a little bit, just slightly, just press in slightly, don't press too much, you don't want to change the shape too much, so it's just a little dent, and that's basically where the head will sit into it. So if you can see, probably can't quite see, I've just dented it slightly, but again that will change as if you're still going to be shaping a little bit here now. It may go, but again it's something that you can go back to like I am now. Just give it a little press again, just very gentle. Okay, so onto the decoration or the dots. It has 4 dots, 2 and 4. These are up to you again what colour you want to go. I will go for, again, nice original red. You can choose and change that. If you've already changed the waistcoat, you may want to change these as well. So I'm going to go for red, but the measurement we're looking for are small 1 centimeter. So you go to the 1 centimeter. So like before when we were asking for a large, this time if it's a little bit smaller than 1 centimeter, that's what we're ideally looking for. But again, as long as all 4 measurements are pretty much the same, if they are dead on 1 centimeter, it's fine. Okay, so 4 just shorter, just smaller for me. And all we're going to do with these is press them down and flatten them out slightly, and then place them onto his head in the right place. Okay, that was a bit big. Okay, so again with the hat it should be exactly even and exactly even, so it's all 4 spots. All you do is gently press down, make them into a flat disc. As long as they're in a ball, you should get a nice round disc. And again, when you press them onto the actual hat or the top there, it will flatten out a little bit more. Okay, so I'm just going to take them, I'm going to gently put them evenly all the way around in the right spots. So that's the front. I know there's one that's got to be exactly behind. Press that down as well. And then one on each side. Oops. Finally, last one. So you should now have a nice finished. Okay, so we're going to get the head, we're going to place that into that little dent if you've managed to get a dent in there, and then place them all together. Again, whilst he's drying, you will probably need to rest him up against something if you want him to be stood upright. So you can see now he's starting to still lean back a little bit. once we've got everything together with the head. So remember the smile's that way, so the flatter part will be a bit going into the dent. Place that into the middle. Gentle press together. And then again, gently add him onto the body. Just a gentle press. Try not to press too much. So we should be looking at this now. I'm going to add eyes, but again, whilst just to quickly do the eyes, I'm just going to rest that up against the back of the airtight container. The eyes are dead simple. He only uses a little tiny bit of black clay for the eyes. So I will give you a guide. Again, it's not 100%, it doesn't matter. If they're a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. My starting point will be a 0.5 measurement of black. So on that card, I'm going to get a 0.5. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that in half. So I'm going to use my tool, cut it in half, put one half back again. So I've now got one of them. And I'm going to cut that in half one more time. And I'm going to put one away. And that's all I'm going to use for the eyes, is tiny little bit, okay? So his eyes aren't round. So once I cut this in half again, that's my two eyes, okay? But his eyes aren't round, they're a little bit oval. So all I'm going to do, roll them into that ball if you can. So little tiny balls. And then all I'm going to do is roll them slightly, as if I'm rolling a sausage. And then I'm going to press down to flatten them very slightly, being very gentle. Obviously now only working with a tiny amount of clay. So I've got two little ovals, and then it's time to add them onto the face, okay? So just above his smiley mouth, trying to not be too rough with with your other hand. Don't want to change the shape of the body too much. Okay. And that's your toad all finished. Like I say, it may be a bit awkward to stand up, start off with. You may need to rest him up against something. I will have to. So if I rest him up against something just whilst it dries a little bit, like that. Okay, so hopefully you've got a really good finish. If you have gone the original way, the colours wise, obviously have another go, try and change it around, see what you can achieve with the different colours. If you found the scale a little bit tricky today and you want to maybe head down to the Key Stage 1 and try our measuring spoons, a little bit easier, please head over to claycreators.com/shop to place an order for those spoons. Same place if you're running low on clay and you need some more clay, again head over to the shop. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.